Why is justice so elusive in a country that is 85% Christians? With all its arms of government led by Christians, should we admit that Christians are the biggest threat to democracy and justice? The call for justice is the discussion we want to have tonight. When you look at the events of June 2024 and every other event that has come after that, families are crying for justice. People are in the corridors of justice, seeking the very same thing that is enshrined in our Constitution. When we serve a God of justice, why are conversations around justice so elusive? Tonight, we look at these conversations because when you watch news, families are crying. People have lost their loved ones. But where will they turn to? How do you tell, for instance, the mother who lost her 12-year-old that God is in control? Tonight, I'm joined by Dr. Jane Rose Kibara. She's a seasoned leader in governance, leadership development, and ethical transformation. She's the chairperson of the board at ELNET Kenya. ELNET Kenya deals with ethical leadership, both in private and public institutions. Also joining me is Precious Awi. She's a human rights activist. She's passionate about human rights. She's been part of all the movements that we've seen for Gen Zs. She has been inspired by the recent protest that started by Finance Bill 2024. But not just that, she's seen it, she's been with the families that have been bereaved, and she's also been a victim of the chaos that we've seen in our streets. Ladies and gentlemen, you can be part of this conversation. In a country that is 85% Christians, why is justice elusive? Talk to us on our SMS line 20316. WhatsApp line is 0786 316 316. Crosstalk begins right now. Ladies, welcome to Crosstalk.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Precious,
Yeah,
how is it on the streets?
it's great.
It's great. Welcome to Crosstalk.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me start with you, Madam Jane Rose. When you look at our current state of the nation, and mostly dealing with the crisis that we are currently facing as a nation, the deficit of trust in our government institutions, as somebody who is very passionate about ethical leadership, what runs into your mind?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Actually, it's a very sad situation that we are in as a country because no one should be killed for, asking for their rights, for fighting for their rights. The systems are there. Kenya's got the best laws, if I can say, in the land. Globally, our laws are one of the best. We have systems. Unfortunately, these systems are not working. We have the judiciary, we have the law enforcement, but when you look at the way things are doing and are going, there is a disconnect somewhere. And therefore, what I would say is that we need to have everyone do their work. We need to have everyone held accountable. And ethics, when you talk about ethics, because here at Helnet we advocate for ethics and integrity. It is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching, when no one is looking at you, when no one is there. Whatever you're doing behind the closet, in your boardroom, in your business, should be the right thing. So that particular time that you've been sent to, to observe a demonstration, what are you supposed to do? I believe there are guidelines and they should be followed. Therefore, there is a systemic failure. That is what I can say. There's a systemic failure in our nation, and that needs to be addressed.
Okay.
That is why we find quite a lot of unethical practices taking place, beginning with the corruption. That's why we'll have the wrong people in leadership. And when they are there, because they are not qualified, for example, they'll do the wrong things.
Yeah, we'll come to the issues of corruption, but we are still talking about this disconnect that we need to address, because then it forms the root cause of this mistrust that we are seeing in our public institution. So maybe to you, Precious, you've been part of the Gen Z movement. You do a lot of content geared towards seeking for justice for families that have lost their loved ones. When you look at the families from 2024 until now, people that have lost their lives, would you say justice is being served to the families that have lost their loved ones, or even the families that were abducted?
No. First of all, I'll say just no. I think so. It was a sad time last year, 2024. First of all, I'll just say that I was among that who injured my right hand, but I thank God that I'm doing great. So first of all, our government, our political areas love press things. So when there is a sympathy of a kid who has died, all the politicians will come there for a photo to use afterwards. So our country is like, it's like the oppressors, the poor people, the poverty line is so high that even if you're given 200, you don't think forward. At the moment, our government is putting a lot of cash outside for the next political rally for the 2027. And I'll do believe that our country is a mess because we thought this year 2025 will be a commemorative time for us to serve, light candles, but we have lost a lot of life too. A lot of people were injured, more than 570 something. People were injured. 12 ladies were raped, and one scene was along Sitam Valley Road. That is a church. So I think so since date 25th, some youth don't believe in churches. And as like, we do believe that in a congregation of, if we want to be in political things, we have to have a political science, we have to have a church, and we have to have our community. But our community is failing, our church are failing. So we have just remained with the political party that we are heading to. Secondly, our churches have become businesses. I can see that in a full thing. Because last 22 election, a lot of our bishops, we don't see church is a structure, it's our human. So a lot of the human in our churches don't believe, they're not going the right way, and they're messing in everything because our parents, if we usually say, teach your children the God way. And it's like the good way is messing us because this is the time that people were saying, Ruto was a church person. He went, cried along. And we do believe that when you have humanity from your heart, you're not supposed to hurt another person. And when you're doing something good to a person, you want that person to do good to you. So if you're doing bad thing to that person, what do you want the other person to do to you? So that is a question I'm putting to our government. They've killed us. We're having sorrowful that we cannot speak. Our government is like our parent because they're older than us. And when they're going the wrong direction, if we try question them, you're in the wrong side, you're called, you're not respecting your older people. But they're messing in our country because our education is in a mess. The justice are not there. As like, yesterday I was in a hospital, one of our comrades was shot. He still have the bullet in Kenyatta Hospital since Wednesday. That guy has the same regime. This is a young man saying that if he will be the president, he thinks so he'll do the same the way he was done today.
So it's more of revenge.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are really...
There was a Form 2 kid who was killed, who was shot in the hand. He wasn't in the demonstration. He was in the balcony of his house at Kariobangi South. He just say he hates Ruto because it was not Ruto, but he believes that the government, the president is the defender
The
of
root cause.
Yeah, the defender of the police. So these people are doing it from the top thing. So this kid was saying like, if I was given a portion to go outside, me now I don't have a motion of my life because I'll be having this injury in the entire of my life. So I can do anything to this president. So as like, if these small kids have that grief, And if we try to explain to our parents, some of our parents, some understands, but not all, because there is an ideology of we are following Baba, that is Raila Amolo Odinga. And if you're against Raila Odinga, you're doing the wrong thing if you're in the Luo land. So we have a necropathy that tribalism is so much. At the moment, people are saying, I won't say it in a bad way, but I do believe that our former deputy Gachagua, because social media don't lie. Social media keeps everything. He was the same person last year, 2024, saying that we are supposed to be shot when we are seeing in the street. What is the difference that today he's speaking differently? Murkomen, in a minute, he was saying that if anybody was in the police take your bullets and shoot us. In some hours back, he was denying it. Today, our former spokesman, Owino, yesterday says that Bonfast karaoke wanted to bring an anarchy. One person with mask wanted to bring an anarchy in our country. So that was the reason why he was shot. And those are older people. If our older people are thinking that, what will this young generation think?
All right. Dr. Jendros, when you listen to what Precious is saying from a first-hand experience, somebody who has been on the streets, has visited with families of colleagues that have been killed or maimed by the protests that we've seen from law enforcement officers. You deal a lot with public, private, and even churches, and she's mentioned church. In a country where we are 80% Christians, why is it that justice is so elusive?
Thank you. And really sorry for the families that have lost their lives. It is a very sad situation that you find that, we are not 80 now, till we shouldn't be around 85% yes. Christians. But what I would say is that Christianity is not, or even Christians, is not the building, it is the people.
Yeah.
It's you, it's me, the people out there. One thing we need to do is to reflect at an individual level. Am I doing what is supposed to be done? Am I doing the right thing? That is where we need to begin. Because being a Christian is not just going to church. It is believing in what Christ taught us and doing it. When I am working at my place of work, am I doing the right thing? And if I'm, for example, a police officer, and I am at my station of duty, am I doing the right thing? When you're in a media house like this, are you doing the right thing? And that becomes the basis of all this. And actually, that is why you can see there's a problem in the entire country, because individually, from the individual level, we have failed. We need to reevaluate ourselves as individuals and then collectively as a society.
So would you say that we are a religious state that has failed to transform?
I won't say exactly that, but it's not about the state. It begins with you, the individual person. Because if I'm doing the right thing, you're doing the right thing. If you're on the driving, we are actually observing traffic rules. If I am a court, I'm working at high court, in the judiciary, I am doing the right thing. We'll not have the backlogs that we are having. And then judiciary, for example, we have Christians, don't we?
We do.
We do have Christians. But what do we find there? Justice not being served. That is why you find that there are people actually who are injured, as what she's saying. But up to now, the perpetrators are still out there. Yeah. Nothing has been done. Yeah. Some of them were taken to court, but prosecution has taken so long. Actually, especially when we find that the prosecution is not doing its job, it's not working, then we'll find delayed justice, and there'll be no justice. Okay. Therefore, what is happening is actually as a result of so many factors put together. The political class has failed us. And that's why I said it's a systemic failure. You find that the political leaders are serving their own interests. You find that Christians are not living as per their calling. We are Christians 85. Over 85 now. We moved from 80 because our population is grown from when we are 80, almost 10 20 years ago. 80% now. We are more than 80, almost above 85% Christians. But that is not depicted in what you're doing. All the wrong things you are finding, the corruption, you know, these, all the evils that are taking place. Who is doing it? Are you saying it's just the 20% who are not Christians? It is the Christians.
It's the Christians. So we'll say then the Christians are the greatest threat to democracy and good governance.
They have, and it is the high time now we all came back and reevaluated ourselves and decided to change, to live as per our calling as Christians, to live as per our moral values, ethical values, doing the right thing, just as Christian Christ taught us.
All right.
Because we are supposed to emulate Christ.
All right.
And if we did that, all the evils we'll find in our society will not be there. Because it is not a one day. It is something that has grown over time.
All right. We'll come back to some of the practical ways as a nation or institutions we can then start to live these ethical standards for good governance or even just for the state. Precious, let me come back to you in terms of when you go out on the streets to agitate for justice, to speak truth to power, what is the end goal? Because if then the end goal is more lives lost, people maimed, then ideally the fight for justice on the streets is not really adding value to what maybe the movement of Gen Zs would ideally want to achieve.
I do believe that we will never have a boardroom with our president, one thing. And in our country, the opposition, we don't have an opposition at the moment, as we see. And the opposition is the thing that usually make a stand fit for the government to work. So I think so the generation, Gen Z, are given that opportunity to do that. And we do believe that picketing is on our law. So when we're going to the streets, we usually don't believe that we will die, because we usually carry our flags and phones and water. And we do believe that we are walking freely to a place that we will have a talk, even if it's with the police or with anyone that we find there. But when we start walking, I do believe that our police agitate war, because you'll never be thrown first tear gas, second tear gas, and you're still there, because there is stone over this side, there is anything that anybody has carried. But if the police could not be throwing these tear gas, we could be having a solution. If we are, for instance, if we are marching to Afia House, we could be reaching to the Afia House, give their details that you're not working in the SHA is not working. But despite us, like, if we mention that we are reaching a place, there are a lot of barricades by the police. We don't attack the police, because despite of we are singing the songs of revolutions, and any song of revolution is a song that agitates the government. It's like for example, a song like Uhuru wetu wa Kenya, wa Kenya. So the government feels like these people want war for a coup that they don't deserve. But I do believe that when Raila, Ruto, I think so Ruto was saying Mwai Kibaki must go. When he was saying Mwai Kibaki must go, he was meaning that Mwai Kibaki was not working. Why did he feel like when we say Ruto must go, he asks us, where will he go? Where did he come from?
Because there's a foundation that there's constitutional-laid procedures of our president then will vacate office. But in this case, they tend to believe that there's the constitutional process where after 5 years, we are going to again vote in new leadership. So why don't we wait for that 5-year term? So then in your democratic right, you can then let him go through a voting process.
Do you believe that if you're so silent, you'll have a democratic election? No, Raila has been making noise until the last time before election. So what is the big deal our people are feeling that Gen Z are making a lot of noise? I've been in Mandamano for Raila. So but we never agitate to reach somewhere, because we'll start in Kamkunji, and despite when we come to reach in town, we want to do the actual thing. Raila will come with his thing and say, hey, hapana, polisi wamefika pahali hatuizi. So I do feel like the opposition feel like they've never achieved whatever they've been demonstrating for more than 40 years ago, being in the streets.
And you think Gen Zs are
Yeah,
going to
as like
achieve
it's the first time, a first start of the demonstration, and we were capable of entering the parliament.
Are we not understanding the young people?
Yeah.
Because we also have
time.
a section of the country that stands with the young people and what they're agitating for. There's also another group that says, as much as you're agitating, I don't really agree with what you're agitating for. Is it that there's a disconnect between what these young people are agitating for and what we believe should be the ideal?
Thank you. I think I would like to say that the young people have given a lot of hope to this country because they have been able to speak up where most people have not been able to speak up. And that is a good thing for them. And I would like to tell them it is good to speak up, keep speaking up, and also holding people up to account. However, we've also found instances whereby these agitations have turned out chaotic. People have lost their businesses, people have lost their livelihoods. Now, that one now becomes a disconnect. I think if we are able to have a structured way of engagement, and the government provides a platform where they can listen to the young people. The church leaders can provide a platform where they can listen to the young people and also mentorship to these young people. Most of what is happening, the young people are frustrated. They have been jobless. They have graduated. They graduated with a lot of high hopes. I teach at the university, at Kenyatta University. And we celebrate them when they graduate and tell them, you know, go ye and lead. But then when they go out there with so many very high hopes, what happens to them? They become disillusioned. So there are so many factors at play here. And I would recommend a structured way of listening to these young people because they have a point. But also, let's also have reason, the voice of reason prevail. Let's not have people, lose their livelihood. People lose their lives. I think it is not good.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. You lead at ELNET,
Yes.
Ethical Leadership Network.
Exactly.
Where have you seen integrity work in public sector?
Oh, yeah, integrity works. Actually, I have seen integrity works at HealthNet. We mentor young people, and we've seen them succeed and become ethical leaders. We normally assess businesses, and we award them a mark of ethics after ensuring that they have met all the parameters, the 30 of them. So far, we've awarded around 18 leaders. Okay. They are one of ethics, and then we've also awarded around 22 leaders and 18 businesses. We've given the mark of ethics.
So there are some people that are living true to their calling.
True to their ethics.
Okay.
And they are there, and their businesses are doing so well. And that is why I want to tell Kenyans today, and those people are watching, ethics is possible, and it is possible to do business in an ethical way. It is possible to actually lead with integrity, govern with integrity. And that is why I would like to urge people, both the young people, the home people, Christians, non-Christians, not to give up. Kenya will change. All we need to do is to become consistent.
Consistent. And young people have tried to be consistent over time since the 2024 finance bill. But then how do we move from just criticizing the government to a point of action?
Yeah, one thing I do believe.
All that thought. We take a short break. When we come back, we start with you. This is Crosstalk. We are looking at justice and integrity, and we are sharing stories, personal and, of course, just looking at the state of the state of our nation currently as we talk about justice. We are taking a short break. You can be part of this conversation. Share your feedback on our SMS line 20316. Our WhatsApp line is 0786316316. We'll be right back after this short break.
We are living in a lost and broken world, constantly bombarded by messages of hate and atrocities. But with God, we can overcome. Find hope and restoration on the go through life-changing shows on the Family Media app.
And then you will lose yourself and gain the world. And Jesus said, what good is it?
Get to stream Family TV and Family Radio 316 straight from your phone. Catch up on a show you missed or create video streaming playlists by saving and watching videos from our huge variety of shows at your own convenience. Download the Family Media app, available for all Android and iOS users on the Google Play Store and Apple Store respectively. Family Media, keeping Jesus on the airwaves.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. Kenya continues to suffer from a deficit of trust across our public institutions, right from the judiciary to law enforcement officers to government. You can talk about legislature, you can talk about executive. People tend not to feel really what the government is doing towards supporting the very vulnerable of our society. And joining me today to talk about integrity and justice is Dr. Jendros Kibara, who is the chairperson, board of directors at Elnet Kenya. I'm also joined by human rights activist Precious Howie, and they're sharing their personal stories from their different spheres of life, and just looking at how best as a nation we can practically start to move towards ethical leadership. Before the break, we were talking about most of the times we critique a lot. We'll say the government is not doing this. And when young people get on the street, that's the language. How do we move now from that language of criticizing the government to taking action?
I do believe that the only thing it has remained is us to work hard for the seats of MCAs, MPs, and women rep for this country. Despite that, the political class believe that we are supposed to stand with their parties, like we have UDA, we have ODM, which are old parties, we have PNU and the rest. But the thing is, like, we'll never work with the oppressors. We do believe that we're not supposed to work with the oppressors because our country, the poor, the community, the people in Kenya are crying a lot, and they do believe that we have a better thing. For instance, our MCAs in our community, if you come and see some schools, the drainage systems, the dispensaries that are in our communities, they're not looking at the best, and there are usually some money budgeted for all these things in our community. And if we cannot question your MCA, if you cannot question your MP, if you cannot question your governor, you'll never be able to question your president. Mm-hmm. At the moment while people were saying Ruto must go, it's because at that time, our president, I do believe that he should be a person who is moderate in all the circumstances. Despite all the stones are thrown at your place, you're not supposed to be agitative and answer us rudely that despite you are going to the streets every day, you'll never go out. No. Mm-hmm. He's not the God who created everything. I do believe we have one God who is our sovereign power, who has that sovereign power, and that is the Almighty God that we serve.
All right.
So despite that, he calls himself a Christian. I do believe Christian comes from the word Christ. And Christ means we have all the sovereign, we should have love, we should have peace, we should have humanity, we should remove envy in ourselves and all the things. But particularly in our government, we don't have that. At the moment, I think so, our former Prime Minister, Raila Amolo Odinga, was a good fighter. Me can say that he was. He fight for freedom in our speeches and everything. But at the end, he end up joining the oppressors. And as like, I do believe that all our country people usually sees the bad thing. They never remember the good things that you've done to us. So at this moment, we criticize things that they're trying to opaque us from having our own party. Because if you go open a party in the circumstance that the rules have already come out that you're not supposed to have our own party. So we are obligated to join a DCP, UDA, or ODM. But we do believe that if we have a convergent movement in our life, we'll overtake. And it's not like overtaking. We can withdraw and remove them from the power that they do believe that they own it so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's the aspect of young people also get opportunities. And
Yeah.
when they do, they still speak the same language of what we'll call the oppressors.
I do believe that...
Is it just it's the opportunity that you've not been
No,
given?
it's not about opportunity.
Yes.
I do believe that at first, while we are starting our things in life, not using the Gen Z, we can use example of our former politicians and the rest. While they're starting at something, we usually do believe that they'll work so much on it. So we do believe that we have the energy, we have the ability, and we want the change to our country. And in our generation, that we do believe that if somebody is not working, we'll be able to face you and tell you that, man, this place you're doing it wrong. So you're going to step aside, another person to take. But in this circumstance, we cannot go to any of our politicians at this moment and tell them we have not served, so we're not supposed. But we can, as like if you're many, we go saying this thing, because we do believe the power is from the people. So we don't want this MP, we don't want them. And that is another system that we're looking to have from Sabasaba. Maybe we will never have a demonstration in the streets because we really don't know whatever we are coming up with.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. It looks like young people are agitating for accountability. But the Bible talks about when the righteous rule, people rejoice. Why is it that we are not rejoicing as a nation? Or is it just a few clique of people who are rejoicing?
Yeah, we are not rejoicing as a nation because many things are not working. The cost of living has become very high for most Kenyans. Unemployment has become quite high. You find that the health system is not working. People are suffering, and the leaders are not accountable. Beginning from the grassroots. When you look at the members of the county assembly, beginning from there, you find that there's no development. There's an allocation for every county, but they can't account for that. Therefore, things are not working, and that is why there's a lot of outcry out there. Therefore, people should be accountable. People should do what they are called to do. And just to hold to the same thought that we are over 80% Christians. Matthew 5:14 tells us, 14 to 16, you are the light of the world. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. This is actually a call for all of us, believers, those who call ourselves Christians, leaders, to actually model a living of integrity. Christian living. In whatever we do, if you are an MCA, for example, are you serving your ward and your members? Are you advocating for your people, or you've been compromised by the governor? Because that is what is happening in most counties. If you are a member of parliament, are you serving your people? Are you advocating for their rights? The challenges that your constituents are facing, are you advocating for them in parliament? The same applies even to the church leaders. Are they shepherding the people? Are they speaking against the ills that are happening in our country? Because the church should also become a voice to not only spiritual nourishment, but also should be able to speak against injustice.
There should be a prophetic voice to the nation.
Very good. The church should be the prophetic voice to the nation. They should be able to stand and call out bad leadership.
How do you think Jesus will respond to a situation like ours right now?
Oh, Jesus would have whipped many of them, and he would have been very sad. If Christ was here today, he would mourn for this country. He would mourn for this country. Yes, therefore, as Christians, we need to wake up, not only pray, we are praying for the country. Praying is not enough. Let us pray, but also do our part.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll come back to how then do we move forward as a nation. We are in this state. If we had an opportunity to speak to the church
Yes.
and speak to the presidency, what will this be?
Yes.
So we'll come back to that. But to you, Precious, you don't fear for your life?
I do believe that our God says that let me tell you something first. I was born in a Muslim family before converted to Christianity. So I do believe that you're born once and you die once. And despite that we're supposed to have fear, all of us will die. I'll give an example to Albert Ojwang's case. Albert has never been in streets, and he was taken from their place eating with their parents. So what is the difference between his death and mine in the streets? Totally no difference upon that. And when we go to the streets, we do believe that we are prayerful people and we are covered by the blood of Jesus. Because when you're fighting for your righteous thing, deep down your heart, God knows that you're fighting for something which is right. He will never make you get any effort on anything. Sometimes it's hard that when we are going to Kenyatta, people ask, you've been in front line in the streets, but you've never been hurted. But last year I was hurted. But it's like, I do believe that when I come out, I usually ask God, I'm going for this fight. I have a son who is turning 11. And I usually tell them that, I tell my mom, I know I'll come back. I know I'll eat the fruit that I've been fighting. I know I'll be the liberator. And it's like, if Ngugi wa Thiong'o survived all those things, who am I not to survive? I don't have any other blood that is flowing different from Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Oppressors get mistreated, but if you're fighting for the righteous, God will always be on your side. Wow. That's all I can say.
That's powerful. How's your conversion journey been so far?
It has been great. I do believe that sometimes our friends, our group, I'm in a group of young people. I think so I'm the older. I'm not a Gen Z, I'm a millennium, but I have an ideology of Gen Z because I do believe that our country is going to a streak that my son will not get the future. I cannot let this thing affect my son and the other generation. I do believe that despite all the fight, despite all anything, it could not be right now. And usually say that our God tells us our goodness will come as soon as we want it. And whatever you utter from your mouth, it will always appear in your thing. So we do believe that despite all these blockage that our parents, other people are telling us that this is the system in our country. This is not the system. Corruption has to end. People have, as like, educated people are outside there with jobless thing. In our country, that if you're connected to somebody, you get a job which even you don't know how to do it, you don't know how to deliver it, but you're given that space. And the person who has that thing, for instance, I'm in diploma in water engineering. It's down the line 10 good years without work. So you find yourself like doing something else, but the people in our parents and the old generation tells us, the boomer tells us that you'll never find out that you have to do, or if you're going to apply for a job, you're told to give something for you to get a work. So our country system is failing. And as like Dr. said, it's from us. If anybody gives you cash for you to vote for him, he will never work for you. He has to return his cash fully. First, before to work, he'll have, if for instance, if Ruto used more than 900 billion for him to get this presidential seat, do you think that he'll let this 900 billion first not to come back? He'll have to bring it, despite of any way, if it's all taxing you, he'll have to bring his cash down the line.
Looks like politics has become a lucrative
Because even if we go to civic education in the ground, when we have gone to some places, but they usually ask you kitu kidogo, as like you ask them. You still have that mentality of kitu kidogo. Look the way your area is looking, and you still have the instant like mnatuachia nini ya chai. We don't have anything. We have not come here for cash. We've come to tell you that if you're giving us, let us work for those 6 months. And we're telling you in a good way. If we don't work in 6 months, change the system. We're ready to change that system.
All
Let
right.
us be jobless for that, but let our country be the shining one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Doctor, I want to ask you in terms of how then do we start to move to rebuilding trust in our institutions? What do we need to do now? Speaking to the church and to the government executive, what do we need to do now?
Thank you. As I said earlier, Kenya has got the best policies, the best laws, the best, structurally, we are very good. The legal system is very good. The challenge we have is implementation. Let us implement the policies that are there. Let us implement the laws that are there to the latter. And that is in the light of Kenya Constitution 2010. Because it has given us all the legal framework, it has given us all that requires to be done, even to guide the institutions that we have as a nation. So we need to have that being implemented fully to the latter, and then we will be in the right track.
Okay.
People doing their jobs without cutting corners. People doing their jobs with integrity for what they are called to do. The church continues speaking for truth, continue advocating for justice for all, without fear or favor. That is what I can say. And for the young people also, I'll tell them to speak out, but also with compassion. Because Matthew 5:13-16 tells us to be the salt of the world. How can you be the salt of the world if you are just so bitter with the others? If you went to the social media today, you will find a lot of hatred. Let us advocate for our rights, but with compassion. Let's be compassionate to each other. When you go to the street, remember that police officer is also a human being. Let's treat them with compassion. Let us not provoke them. Remember, they are human beings also with human hearts. If you're given a job as a young people, be patient and work through the ranks, through the process. But many young people today get a job, the next day they want to drive the car of their dream. They don't realize that the people driving those cars have been working for 20, 30 years. So patience is also very paramount. So for all of us, we need to search ourselves and do the right thing. Where did we go wrong? Where did the rain start beating us? Then we can correct ourselves, and together we will build this great country. Kenya is a beautiful country, great country, and we cannot give up. And it is going to change. Kenya will be an ethical country. We will be able to elect men and women of integrity, if only we do not give up.
Right.
And if only we did our part individually. When it comes to voting, don't be compromised. If you get bribes to vote in someone, then that person will not serve you. Let us also begin with our own actions, where we are able to take control, take charge, and do the right thing.
Okay.
That is what Christ has called us to do. Thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you so much, Dr. Jendros. Your last words. Do you feel powerless now that sometimes you come out of the streets, what you're agitating for, you are not realizing it, it's not being achieved, the government is not responding the way you would desire? Does sometimes the action of the government make you, as a young person and your team, feel powerless?
Totally no.
Okay.
We do believe that when you're fighting for something, it will never deliver. You'll never get it in instant. For instance, it's like we're fighting for the accountability of this country. We're fighting for justice, but we have seen justice in Albert's case, and we are happy for that. Despite it came up with some agitated things about the cash of the funeral, which we left aside because as we were fighting for the justice, that we wanted to show the world that Albert was never knocked himself in the wall. Instead, he was heated up. Secondly, I do believe that when you start fighting for something, even if you're giving birth to a kid, he will not walk that day. It will take 2 years for us to get the other things that we're getting. But despite of that, somebody will come and say someday that Precious and the team fighted for this and we have got it through their work hard. Okay. So we will never lose our morale. We will never lose telling the government wherever they're doing wrong. We will never fear. We'll respect them because they are our elders. But if somebody don't respect you, I'll ask my mom, because he's like my mom at the moment. He has said that we talk to policemen with compassion. No. I think so. We were in Vigil House last week, but one when we were demonstrating about Dick Lagat to step aside. We were talking to an OCS of city center, and we were so humble. But later, he called for us, DCI, plainclothes to hit us. So as like, somebody felt bad because we gave them our ears and we heard them. But later, despite us sleeping in the gate, doing nothing, he decided to call for us, people to hit us. Why? And you're telling us to respect them. Police follow orders from above. Despite some people want to have that humanity, they'll tell us they're not all of them. When you go to police station, it's like yesterday while we were going to visit our friend, we were tear gassed. Police is utumishi kwa wote. We have the right to visit our friends inside the central police station. But when they see the youths are coming a lot, they find this case as a different thing because if they have lied, they'll not lie. So they use tear gas. When you're using tear gas, this thing can hurt somebody and you don't feel anything about that person. So why should the other person feel about you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Tough conversations.
Tough conversations, but I want to say that actually it's always good for us to speak the truth, but with grace.
Even if our voice is shivering.
Even if the voice is shivering, even if you're feeling hot, let us always endeavor to speak the truth within grace. It's very important. And also, especially for us Christians, promote peace and reconciliation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we might, she's giving an example where they were peacemakers, but they were not treated well. But Christ asked us to forgive. How many times?
77.
Yes, so many times. So don't give up. Keep doing the right thing, and that is how we are going to change this country. Doing the right thing. Yes. Exactly. What would Jesus do? Yes. I always ask myself when I'm cornered in a situation, what would Jesus do if he was in my situation? Mm-hmm. And anytime you ask yourself that question, you will find yourself doing the right thing. So, and actually, I want to tell you, they're even good police officers. True. Very many of them.
And I know some have won awards that you give as helmets.
Yes,
but
we've
despite
awarded many of them.
God says that we were created in His human being. But despite of that, He usually knows that we are human beings. We make mistakes each day, and that's why we usually go for repentance each time that we enter in the altar of the Lord, please. So we will never be created. We will never be the same as. We'll never have that holy. We're not holy than God. That's why God knows us. Despite of something, somebody can react to you at the moment, and you do something not thinking or due to anger. Later, you'll come to your senses and say, I did this because of this and this, and God will listen to you. But you cannot tell us all the time to. I do believe that we were so reliant in churches at the moment. As like me, for my friends, some of my friends never go to church. For sure, as like Kato Wambia is like, mi naenda church kufanya. What am I going to do in the church? As like these people do believe in their oppressor's side and they want us to believe in them. Yeah. So at the sense, like when All Saints Cathedral called for the memorial prayer, I think so all the pastors who came were Gen Zs. Because if there were old people there, because they'll tell us that you are not doing the right thing, but they knew if they brought the old pastors, we'll agitate and move out because they have been accusing us. They have not been giving us the room to go, even sometimes to hide ourselves during demonstration. So you want us to, I'll just give this question to some churches. You want us to love church, but you're not giving us room to, because I think so during demonstration for 2020, this 25th, the only place which were open, they were only churches, because all the buildings were closed. And the only place that people were allowed to, it was Jamia Mosque. Our churches refused us. And it's like, you want us to be children of God, and there's like the old people are agitating not us to secure, because after death you'll just say that yes, we wanted this, but if we could have hidden to that place, something wrong could have not happened to this kid.
Yeah, and I think like Dr. Gendros had mentioned earlier, that even as we talk about churches as an institutional building or body, it's a reflection of who we are as individuals.
Exactly.
And I'm happy that you are a convert from Muslim faith to Christianity. And that's, for me, is the greatest joy of also this conversation. Because it said somebody has not become a Christian because either they have not met one or they have interacted with one.
Yeah, exactly.
So the aspect of us being Christians and believing in the institutional body of Christ, I think that change has to start with us.
It has to
There's always a call that the church makes, come as you are,
Yeah.
but don't leave as you came.
As you
Yeah.
came.
Yes.
And again, the church is not a building.
Yeah.
Therefore, the young people should not detest the church because it was not opened. Let them go to Christ. Let them go to God before God as they are hurting. Because it is not the building.
Yeah.
It is not the leaders in the church. The church is the body of Christ, all of us as Christians.
Yes.
And it is actually a sanctuary for all of us. Yes.
Thank you. This is a conversation that will not end. because, but what I like and I've picked out, even as we agitate for our own rights, we do that with compassion.
With the compassion.
true.
Yes.
And thank you so much, Dr. Ari, for your time on Crosstalk.
You're most welcome.
Thank you so much, Precious Awi, for your conversation as well, and your insights of your personal life into this conversation. And like one of my friends, Vincent Kimosop, always says, as we move on to elect our leaders, let's not just go for Bora Uongozi. Let's go for Uongozi
Bora.
And that's the perfect time and the perfect way we can end this conversation. That even as we agitate for justice to be served for families that are going through bereavement and grieving their loved ones, and even those that have been maimed, those that are still seeking justice in the corridors of justice, that even as that justice is being served, that we'll go for ethical leadership in every sphere of government, both in the national and in the county level of leadership. Until next time, bye-bye for now.